Good evening.
Good evening.
Welcome to Monterey High School. I'm Councilman Jeff Griffith. This is Councilman Steve Massengale. We're also joined by Councilwoman Sheila Patterson-Harris this evening as our guest. We're glad you're here. Hopefully we'll have some more people flow in, but we're going to go ahead and get started. We've got some great topics to discuss. If anybody has any questions, please raise your hand at any time because we can answer them as we go. Our first topic tonight we'd like to visit about is something near and dear to us here close to the Monterey campus, and that is a new water tower project. And coming forward is Public Works Director Wood Franklin. Thank you, Wood.
Thank you. Appreciate it. By the way, class of '88 here at Monterey. So.
Class of '76, Monterey.
Class of '87, Monterey. Fogerson.
'88. Or Fire Chief Fogerson, class of '88, Monterey.
There we go. So we can't forget we're all peons over here. So obviously this is a great location to have this conversation because over here on my right, on your left, is one of the water towers that we'll be talking about. So you obviously notice that water tower is missing a portion of the top of it. So it is coming down, and I'd like to talk to you guys about that. So if you have any questions, do feel free to interrupt me. I'll be glad to answer any questions. All of this is actually a result of our 2017 Water Distribution Master Plan. This is a plan that evaluated and modeled our water system all through town. We kind of reviewed and recommended pumping efficiencies, also looked at our current elevated storage that we have in town, the current tanks that we have, and also recommended our capital improvement program for our water and wastewater systems here in town. And that was, again, completed in 2017. What is water storage? A lot of the people ask us, and it's just everybody sees a water tower, thinks a water tower is just a water tower. It actually has a purpose, of course, we call it in the engineering world elevated storage. It stores water at an elevated location. Basically, we spend the effort to pump it up there and get it up there. Why do we do that? Mainly to provide water service and fire protection during power outages. So if we ever have a power outage, we have that. We've expended the energy. We have that stored energy of our water storage up there. So if we ever do have a power outage, we still can provide fire protection to the citizens. We can still provide your potable water to the citizens as well. It also allows us to pump more efficient at peak times. Essentially, if we have a good water tower system, we can pump in the evenings when electricity demand is lower. It's also in some places cheaper to pump at that time. Additionally, water towers are regulated by what we call our TCQ, our Texas Commission on Environmental Quality. We are required to have a certain storage elevated per connection, water connection, and that's 200 gallons per connection. That may or may not mean much to anybody, but with Lubbock growing and gotten a lot bigger and we're expanding, the 3 water towers that we have in our current system are not sufficient to have that storage and also not located, and we don't have enough of them. Currently, the City of Lubbock has 3 water towers, if you're not aware. Obviously, one of them right here at 50th and Indiana, another one at 35th and Avenue W, and we also have one down at 73rd and Genoa. These towers, as I kind of mentioned with expansion of the city, are essentially small. They don't have all the storage that we'd like for them to have, and they're also at an elevation lower than we would like for them to be, meaning that as we grow, our pressure in our systems increase and we're actually pumping over them. So currently right now, they're not very efficient in our system. I mentioned our water master plan in 2017. It recommended 5 new water towers in our system. We're going to, for efficiency of design, we're designing all of these water towers. They're going to be the same design. They're going to be the same storage capacity. All of them are going to be 2 million gallons. Some of them will vary in height based on where they are. And they're all going to be, as you can kind of see over here, a concrete riser with the bowl, which actually is where the water is stored, is going to be steel. In that concrete riser, we do have a standpipe because obviously we got to connect the water in the bowl to our water system. But there is actually room inside that concrete riser for us to store equipment materials as we need. So on these sites that we have and we're building these towers, we will have indoor storage. It's kind of nice. Some people ask us about the footprint. We're replacing this one, for example. Is it going to be larger footprint? Do we need more property? The answer to that's actually no. These towers will fit on the existing property, and so they essentially have the same footprint as the current towers that we have right now. Kind of talk to you where the 5 water towers are going to be located. Right here at 50th and Indiana, this tower is coming down, and we're going to have a new tower at this location. We're going to have another one at 104th in Milwaukee. As Lubbock's expanding south and southwest, we need to increase the pressure in that area. We're also going to have one at 3rd and just west of University, right behind the parking garage north of the stadium. We also have 2 other towers that are scheduled around the 82nd and Avenue P area, and also the North Slide and the North Slide and Clovis Highway area. Those properties haven't been determined at this time. Kind of like to talk to you about the schedule of the events. The first thing that we're doing, obviously, is removing this tower, and that construction started last month, February of this year, and it should be down in the next couple months. We have currently already designed, and we'll be going out to bid and awarding those bids for the construction of the first 2 water towers. The first one here at Indiana and 50th Street, and the other one at 103rd and Milwaukee Avenue. Those will be the first 2 towers that go on. Hopefully we expect to have those contracts awarded this summer, and it's about a 15-month construction schedule for those 2 water towers. Those water towers, including the ones that are in the future, are essentially about $2.5 million each. And we're going to go ahead and phase these constructions. So as the contract goes up and building on this one, we get the site, we get the contractor working on the concrete, and then when they're done there, they'll move to the other site at 103rd in Milwaukee, while this one's being constructed with the bowl. The other towers are coming in fiscal years 2020 or 21-22 and fiscal year 22-23. One thing that's unique, I mentioned that these will provide efficiency in our pumping. These are larger towers. We'll be able to run our pumps either like at night when electricity demand is lower, and therefore can be more cost efficient for us and for our electrical demand. We'll also be able to run our pumps at full pump capacity. So if you know anything about pumps, running them at their design's peak capacity, full capacity is where they are most efficient. And we'll be able to fill the towers up and turn the pumps off and let the demand come down, and lower as elevation comes down the towers, run the pumps back on. And every time we run those pumps, they're at peak demand. Right now, as I mentioned, we're really not using the water towers. So as everybody gets home and our water demand goes up, we're having to ramp the pumps up and ramp the pumps down based on demand. So there are several times during the day that we may be running our pumps at 20% efficiency, which for our system is not very good. One thing that these new towers will do, I mentioned they're about $2.5 million each. With this energy cost savings and the way we're going to operate our new system, they have a payback of about 7.5 years. So although the $2.5 million sounds like a lot of money to the citizens, in 7.5 years they'll be paid for, and we'll start reaping the benefits of the electrical pumps and that kind of nature. With that, I'll take any questions. I'd like to mention that this is an exciting project. It's obviously going to change the skyline of Lubbock, not only right here in central Lubbock, but also throughout Lubbock. It's also going to provide a better service to our citizens while also reducing our electrical and energy costs. So we're looking forward to the project and can't wait to get these going. Maurice.
Water, of course, is a situation that we can't go out and manufacture more. So we're into conservation, and I think that's a great idea. Is the City of Lubbock looking into recycling water? In other words, what goes down is going to come back up?
Very good question. Yes, we have our 2018, which is our 3rd water master plan that we've looked at, which plans for our 100-year water supply plan. In that plan includes, obviously what you're talking about is reuse water. There's 2 types of reuse water. There's indirect reuse, where we actually put it into the stream, the Brazos River, let it go downstream and pull it out in a lake. That's probably our next water supply, which would be Lake 7. You may hear us talk about that. That's between Buffalo and or Ransom and the East Loop. So that would be an indirect usage where we treat all of our effluent water, treat all of our sewer water. It goes into the creek, goes down, stores in a lake. We pull it out of the lake. We go to a water treatment plant, and it comes back to us. We also have direct potable reuse, and that's where it's literally piped from the sewer plant to the water plant. There's a treatment plant in between that's further down the road. So those are in our plans. We are looking at water conservation and water reuse, because one good thing about that water is we essentially use about 32 million gallons a day from the citizens of Lubbock. We discharge about 22 million gallons a day. The rest of it essentially goes on your grass for irrigation and outdoor use. That's 22 million gallons of a water supply that we really never used, and the technology hasn't been there. The technology is there to do that now. And the more we conserve, the more we kick those projects down the road because we don't need them. So obviously water conservation is our best water supply at the time. Lake Allen Henry Water Treatment Plant and our Northwest Sewer Plant, those were designed with water reuse in mind, and that technology is already in place. Lake 7, we currently have a draft permit going through with our TCQ, and essentially right now in our plans is around 20, don't quote me on it, but 2030, 2035. And it all depends on water use and how fast the city grows, but that's where it's projected at this time. Correct. Any other questions? With that, we'll be around, and after everybody does their presentations and their topics, we'll stick around and be glad to answer any questions.
Our next topic, would like for John Turpin to come up and speak about some projects that are happening in Councilman Massengale's district. John?
Yes, sir. Good evening. Keeping with the tradition of what was set tonight, class of '94, Coronado High School. Sorry, guys. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I thought I might get some stuff thrown at me for that, but thank y'all. So, the map to my right, I'll cover Loop 88 first, is the map showing the full route of Loop 88. The current project that's going forward is segment 3, and that is from Avenue U to Chicago Avenue. Currently, TxDOT is about 90% through with the procurement of getting a right-of-way. So you probably, if you've driven down 1585, you can see a lot of the demolition that's already occurring. The United parking lot, you can see that they tore down the gas station. Even out near my house, they've torn some stuff down by Milwaukee. So they're even getting ahead of their current project and getting right-of-way and preparing for the future of the loop. The project is set to bid out June of 2021. I've talked with TxDOT. That might be a little aggressive just by where the current utility relocations are going. I've been in a lot of those meetings because we're having to move some of our water and sewer ahead of that project, and we're on schedule, but a lot of the other utilities are probably a little further behind than we are. So I'm thinking probably somewhere late 2021 we should see some movement on the project. So the other project I'd like to talk about is actually a city project, not a TxDOT project, and that is Indiana Avenue from 130th or 1585 all the way to Woodrow Road. Actually, the part from 146 to Woodrow Road is a county project, but we have entered into an interlocal agreement to basically cooperate with each other and see some savings on design. And we're going to build from 130th to 146th with the city's portion, then 146 to Woodrow is going to be the county portion. Currently, the county only has funding for design, but they're going to get that design done, and hopefully they'll come up with funding to go out at the same time so they can even see some savings on construction. What we're doing with that project within the city limits is we're going to build out three lanes or half the section of our thoroughfare to full build out, so that way in the future we won't have to redo it. We'll just add on our next half of the project with concrete. So it'll be the full build out of the project. Yes, sir.
And how is this project going to be paid for?
It is currently funded actually through the Gateway project. which the council actually gave us the funding for this past year.
When do we want to talk about the Gateway Fund, Jeff? Mr. Massengale,
I'm glad you brought that up.
you knew it was coming.
I saw your ears perk. We knew you, Maurice, you're right on about this, and so this project obviously has already been funded, but the future of the Gateway, I think, is your major question, correct?
Well, here's the point. You know, this started in 2004. Every one of us in the city of Lubbock pay into that fund. You know, if we have a business in this thing, we have a house in this thing, we pay into it. So those of us in central Lubbock have basically paid in about half the money that's in that fund and has been since 2004. We have not gotten what we need out of that. I think that central Lubbock, inside the loop, we need half of that money coming back in. Now, if you want to rechange the name and you want to call it the Renaissance Fund, you want to keep the Gateway Fund outside the loop, that's fine, I don't care. But the money, it should be half the money coming into that should come into central Lubbock.
Sorry, I'm going to get out of the sun here. I think this is a good discussion, and obviously Ms. Patterson-Harris is listening in the background too.
She
So
should.
It's a good discussion for our council, and the three of us will sit down with you, I assure you, and talk about this as far as future and how to go forward.
Well, see, Jeff, here's the deal. You know, I see 98th Street, and it needs it. I agree. We need to do it. We're growing, and I'm all for that. But we see 98th Street from Tahoka Highway into University, 7 lanes of concrete out there. You know, on the other end, you know, from Milwaukee to Upland, we see concrete street. You know, we need to do both ends of 34th Street. You know, there are streets all over this town that need some repair work.
And
All over.
we agree with you. I guess you wouldn't argue. All your concern is getting 34th Street built out, correct?
No, heck no. You know,
No, I'm saying if we came up with a way to do it, it wouldn't matter where it came from, in your opinion.
Well, in my opinion, but here's the deal. That needs to be done. And, but the Gateway, going forward, that's something that's ongoing, and it's, that deal, there was a great deal of foolishness and a great deal of wisdom put together into this Gateway money. It's great. But not putting it back in to do some of the stuff and to keep up the inner city, that was foolish. To send everything out. I understand we're growing. If we need to, raise the dadgum tax rate and let's make it happen. I don't have a problem with that. And I think a lot of people that I talk to, if they know where the money is going and what it's going to be used for and they can see it, they're okay with it. But so if we have to do that, I'm fine with that.
Well, keep in mind the Gateway Fund is basically an interest and sinking fund. It supports debt, and I think these last projects probably put it back out at capacity, and it's got a cycle. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
Before it has any more capacity, but we don't disagree with you. I mean, the solution might not be the Gateway funds, but we agree that there are things inside the loop that haven't been addressed and need to be addressed, and I think as
Okay, well, let's leave it like this.
okay.
That every dollar that comes in, we want part of it inside. I don't care whether you call it from Gateway, you call it XYZ fund, it don't make any difference. If money's coming in and it's generated, we want part of it.
Understood.
Fair enough?
Understood.
Okay, we'll
Very
go with
fair.
that. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, next, thank you, John, and thank you, Councilman. Next, I'm going to ask Ronnie Gallagher, who is our Parks and Rec Director, to come up, and he's going to talk about a cool project that's already funded, that's inside the loop.
And keeping with the process here, Idlewild High School, 75. Meow, meow, meow. Wildcats, meow. We do have a lot of stuff still going on with Parks and Recreation. Just kind of give you an idea real quick, and a majority of our stuff is happening inside the loop. One of the things that's not is the Burrow Huffman Soccer Complex. That is still ongoing. We have completed the irrigation portion of that project, and we're currently in the process of completing out the synthetic turf fields. There's going to be a total of, I think it's 16 or 12 or 16 total fields that are available in that area. It's going to be properly lit. It's going to have shade shelters, bleachers, food truck areas, brand new restrooms, all this kind of fun stuff. And so that way we can use that as a way for increasing our tourism, bringing teams in from outside of Lubbock to play soccer on a really good championship field. It's going to be like the synthetic turf with the little rubber cushion balls inside of it. It's going to be really slick. And if you get a chance to drive out there, there's still, the fence is up, but you can still see what they're doing. And it's really looking pretty cool. One of the things that we completed, once again, outside the loop, we don't do everything out there, but the Jennings walking trail, we completed this last year, put in a mile-long track in Jennings Park. Not long, it's a mile in distance, but it's did some improvements with the irrigation system, helped the drainage a little bit, got that operational. Once again, outside, one of the parks, Crow and Dupree, we upgraded the irrigation on those parks, got them to where we can get better water service out, and we're using both the mixture of well water and potable water on that. So that's really helping to cut back on our potable water use. One thing we've done on those parks too is we have cut back on the amount of fertilizer we're putting down in those parks. We were seeing that we were putting down a whole lot of fertilizer, a lot of pounds, which was coming off of the park and doing runoff, which goes into our system and causes problems that way. So we currently are cut down to about 3.5 pounds per acre, which isn't much, but our parks are looking great. Thank goodness for the rain. One of the things we also did inside the loop was Leftwich. We did a irrigation automation on that one last year and got it completed. Spent about $190,000 to $200,000 on that irrigation system, and so got it up operational. It's tied into our citywide system, so we have computerized control with that sitting in the office of a hit of a button. We completed the improvements at Lake Allen Henry, and that's way outside the loop. And so we got that done, got the camping sites, got water and electricity taken to all those. It's really looking at the camping is really picked up there as well, as has the revenue from that. We mentioned Leftwich Park. Also, one thing that we just signed the paperwork this morning on with the contractor is for his notice to proceed is to install a approximately half-mile long walking track around the northern and western side of Leftwich. There'll be some irrigation renovation of that to accommodate that track, but but it'll really give us a nice walking area, good place to look at, nice decomposed granite track. It'll be really good. And going along with that, we have a project that's still in the design phase for installation of 8 pickleball courts at the Burgess Rushing Tennis Center in Leftwich Park. That one we've had to go out to outside A&E, Architectural and Engineering, to get that finished up. And so as soon as we get that part done, then we'll take that out to bid and get that thing moving, which there's a big group in Lubbock that love to play pickleball, and we're trying to help accommodate that use. And then the other thing that we're working on too is the dog park installation at McAllister Park. It's going to be on the northeast corner of the park. It's under design right now too. We had to go outside A&E on that as well, and that's moving forward. We hope to have it under construction as soon as possible. So we're waiting on our architects and landscape architects to finish that up. There's some little things we did. We finished some kayak and fishing docks throughout the Lubbock Lake system, the Canyon Lake system, the Jim Bertram system. We put in 4 new fishing docks and 3 new kayak launch ports. And if you ever get out to Lake 6 at Dunbar Historic Lake, there's a ton of people out there using those ramps to launch with, as well as stand-up paddle folks. So they're out there in full force. And that's really about it. Unless anybody has any questions, I'd be happy to answer. So, okay.
Ronnie, thank you for that. You know, one thing that we're fortunate with our council that we have today is we believe that investments in parks are important. They're about neighborhoods. They're about quality of life and property values. So as we are able, we will continue to invest in parks. One thing I'll add on the Burrell-Huffman complex improvements, those improvements are investments made by Market Lubbock. Those investments will give Lubbock the premier public soccer complex in the state of Texas. And for many years, we have a lot of our youth involved in soccer programs, and when they wanted to go to tournaments, they had to go out of town, and now you'll see that those types of tournaments stay in town, and we will be able to attract a significant amount of tourism with that, the improvements to that park, so we're excited about that. So next, as it relates to public safety, I'll introduce Chief Sean Fogerson to go over a couple of things, including LBK Alert. John?
Thank you, sir. Good evening, everybody. I'm pleased to be here to talk to you about two very important projects that Lubbock Fire Rescue is a part of. One of them is LBK Alert, which is the City of Lubbock's mass notification system. I hope you've all heard of it by now. We have some informational cards and some process cards on how to sign up here on this table. The way to sign up for LBK Alert is really easy. There's 3 different ways. The first and probably the easiest is to call 311, and they'll be happy to walk you through the process. The only thing you'll be required to do is to come up with a username, and they'll get you signed up that way. Or you can text 888-777, text your zip code to that number. Simply text your zip code to 888-777. And what that's going to get you is a really narrowed down version of LBK Alert. What you'll get is severe weather alerts, tornado warnings, anything like that that's coming through. You'll get more safety messages about what's going on in your neighborhood. If there were a SWAT call or a hazardous materials incident in your neighborhood, you'll get more of that with the true sign up at lbkalert.com or by calling 311. Does anybody have any questions about LBK Alert?
How many of you have LBK Alert on your phone today?
All right, good deal. I'm preaching to the choir up here. That's good to see. Very useful system, very important, very cost-effective system, and probably the best way to get that information out to you. The other topic is Lubbock Fire Rescue's smoke alarm and carbon monoxide detector program. Right now we've received a grant. We will come out and put carbon monoxide detectors and smoke alarms excuse me, in your home. We'll install them for you. Firemen come out on the fire truck, get their ladder out, come into your house and put them up. And that way you know they're being placed in the proper place. You know they're good detectors that are going to do the job when you need them. It doesn't matter. It's not dependent on income or anything like that. Anyone can call and receive those smoke alarms and carbon monoxide detectors. It's interesting to note that simply having a smoke alarm in your home properly installed increases your chances of surviving a fire by 50%. So there's a lot of, across the country, a lot of needless loss of life because smoke alarms are really cheap, and now you have somebody that'll come out and put them in for you. You don't have to worry about it. Any questions on that? Yes, sir. Oh, I'm glad you mentioned that. There's 2 easy ways to do that too. You can email firesafety@mylubbock.us, or you can call 311. They'll take down the information, they send it to us, and then we will call you and make an appointment, and we'll come out and set it up at a convenient time. And you know, we're a 24-hour operation, so if you work during the day, if you're away from home, we can come after you get off work. We'll do it. If we have to do it at 3 o'clock in the morning, because that's the only time you're available, we'll do it then.
Thank you, Sean. I have to pass along a compliment to my friend Sean and his department. A friend of mine had her smoke alarms installed the other day, and she was very complimentary of your firemen that went out there. The only disappointment was the firemen didn't screech up with their lights and sirens going. But I said, you know, they're quick, but maybe not that quick on this one. So that's right, safety first. Thank you for having us out here tonight. We appreciate you listening to us, to updates and things like that. Chief Mitchell wanted me to let you all know that he had a previous engagement at the Boys and Girls Club. Otherwise, he would be here. and he loves to get out in the community and talk to people, but he just had that other commitment he needed to go to tonight. A couple of things I want to update you on. The first is our substation progression, the public safety projects, and there's a couple of different things in that regard that are important to note. And the first is the organizational changes that have to take place in order for us to be able to move into the substations, because Lubbock has never operated out in the community, in the community policing format in regards to operating out of a substation and not just a centralized headquarters building. So internally, we have been really looking at our organizational chart and making changes in the upper echelon parts of that chart right now, and preparing the lower parts of the chain of command to be ready to move out into the substations, like the different patrol districts and how we're going to split up property crimes detectives, for example. All that's been centralized, so we have to plan to get that out and make that as seamless as we can while these buildings are being built. The other part of that is we've partnered with a software company that has looked at our call for service data over the last 4 years, and they are analyzing that for us to help us divide the city into more equal pieces, 3 equal pieces, and that will, as equal as possible. We're never going to get it exact, but that data will let us allocate our resources among the 3 substations in a way that will make our response as efficient as it possibly can be. Once we're finished with that, the same company will help us to look at each one of the divisions, the East Division, South Division, North Division, and divide those into beats, smaller beats, larger beats. They'll let us know where those crimes are occurring in each of those divisions and let us know how and where we need to allocate our people. So that's kind of where we stand on the inside, and as far as the progress towards the buildings themselves, it's going along very well. The East Division, East Substation, the dirt work has been completed out there, and I believe that they're set to pour the slab and some footings, or getting ready to do that. I think the rain might have delayed it just a little bit, but not too bad. You know, we're fortunate around here that well, we're fortunate when the rain comes, but we're fortunate that it's absorbed into the ground pretty quickly in regards to construction projects. So it's coming along nicely. The South Substation, the dirt work has started. I drove by there this morning, and they've got flags in the ground showing kind of the outline of the building. So it's moving along. The lot's been cleared. A construction trailer's in place there, so they're set to move along. But I think they're going to be roughly 60 to 90 days behind at the South Substation, behind the East Substation. So that way they won't all open at the same time. We'll be able to actually move into the East building first, and then we'll have a little bit of time, then we'll move into the South Substation and then to the North Substation. In regards to the North Substation, the platting process has been completed, and the developer is working on completing some of the street work in that area, and once that's done, then we'll start doing the dirt work and kind of really lining out the construction there. As far as the headquarters building goes, we're working with the architects and designers there. We've got the schematics pretty well complete, and we're working still a little bit on the design and development phases as far as what offices go where, and kind of the structural layout for each of the floors. Where we're going to put detectives, where we're going to put patrol, where we're going to put administration. But all of that's coming along nicely. So that about wraps up the substation update, and I'll be ready for any questions if anyone has one. Oh, come on. All right. Well, we're Sean?
This isn't really a question, Neil. I just want to add that the Lubbock Fire Marshal's office is going to be co-located with that, the new police headquarters, which is going to get another building back on the tax rolls.
Yes, I'm glad you pointed it out. That's a good point. Yes,
and a cost savings there as well.
Yes, we're looking forward to that. We're going to put that on the same floor as our detectives, and they work together on a lot of different cases anyway, so it'll work out well for us. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. When the substations come into existence, when an arrest is made in the field and a person is taken to jail, will they go straight out to the county jail and book there, or will they go into some kind of holding facility that's going to be built along with these substations?
They will go straight to the county jail.
Just like
right
they are now?
Yes, sir. Sure will. Okay. Sure will. The substations are set up to have interview rooms for detectives, but there's no holding facility planned to be built inside the substations at this point. So anyone that's arrested, unless they need to be interviewed immediately for some reason, we would transport them directly to the county jail. Yes, sir. All right. Thank you. We'll be around if anybody thinks of anything.
Thank you, Neil. We're excited to get what we refer to as the PSIP, the Public Safety Improvements Project, online. The substations are going to be a great addition to those communities that where those will be housed, and each one of those substations will have a community room in them. So the community will have access to those to have meetings, and then you can also use those to interface with law enforcement. I believe that's all of our speakers for tonight. I thought I'd give a couple other updates. One is on the airport. If anyone's been out to the airport recently, you'll see the construction on the road in front of the airport there's been some demolition and reconstruction. We've built the raised crosswalks to protect the pedestrian traffic coming out into the parking lot. I was out there yesterday, and they've already removed part of the sidewalk in front of the door you would typically come out of for the American baggage claim. That's the only baggage claim that's up right now. They're currently rebuilding, and it's closed off to the public where the Southwest baggage claim is. The airport's under a complete terminal remodel. It's going to be a project of about $40 million. It will give our airport the new face it's needed for many years. The exposed aggregate will go away. As we looked at this project, we were reminded that when we put the brick floors in the airport were before suitcases had rollers. Okay? So if any of you click through there, that we will resolve the clicking at some point. But that's exciting. That's a complicated remodel because we have to also comply with TSA security protocols, but we're excited to get that underway. Lastly, I would give you an update on Citizens Tower. Mayor Pro Tem and I were in the tower this morning. We were working on placement of chairs inside the council chamber, which I would consider to be 98% complete. We're punching out of many of the floors this week. A couple of pivotal things that had to happen for us to start the process to move in was to get our elevators inspected, which allows us to complete our life safety tests in the building and complete our data connection through our data center in the basement. As a reminder, that is a project that began about 5 years ago. The council bought a blighted building downtown with plans to remodel it for the new city hall. It's about a 180,000 square foot project. It's going to house all the city departments except police, fire, animal control, and the health department. When the entire complex is complete, you'll have municipal court to the west of Citizens Tower, which construction on that should start soon. There will be a new parking garage on the lot between Citizens Tower and what will soon be Police HQ. So construction will continue on that side after we move into the tower, probably for another couple of years. But when it's done, it'll be a great catalyst project for downtown Lubbock and will be a great place for our citizens to interact with local government. I guess with that, you want to give any update on LP&L ERCOT? Or just questions for Mr. Rose?
Yep. Matt Rose from Lubbock Power and Light is here if there's any questions for him regarding electricity. Mr. Stanley.
All I want to say is I do appreciate the fact that Citizens Tower is being done. That needed to be done years ago. And redevelopment of downtown Lubbock could never happen without that building. So which of you guys are responsible for that? I want you to know I appreciate you doing it, okay?
Jeff,
And quite often, really, I give you heck about the things in city, but really, you do a pretty good job. Just don't stumble, okay?
Can we record this segment?
Yeah. Hey, talk a little bit about what'll happen with the old city hall.
Thank you, Mr. Stanley, for bringing that up. A neat part of downtown redevelopment, but a neat part of workforce elevation and solution for our city is that the current City Hall building we're in, which is the old Sears building built in 1948, will, as soon as we move out of that soon into Citizens Tower, that will soon be taken over by South Plains College and becomes their downtown Lubbock campus. It'll take year and a half for them to renovate it properly as a school facility. They've signed agreements with Texas Tech. Of course, it's exactly 1 mile away from the front door of Texas Tech University. So you see how these partnerships work with the community college in downtown Lubbock and our major university system. The other deal is there's already restaurants going in right across the street. There's a new restaurant that I entered this afternoon on Broadway that used to be the former Crest building, Councilman. That's a new winery. I wasn't drinking wine at lunch, by the way, but I will tell you that downtown redevelopment is absolutely going great guns if you haven't been downtown in a while. It's amazing what's going on in downtown Lubbock. We're not done. There's still a lot of properties to renovate, but the neat thing is that we're working on with the Overland Group. As a council, we're taking that up shortly. It's a plan that is the master redevelopment of our downtown. A lot of components come into play that Public Works and PD and Fire and Rescue are all involved in. Lubbock Power and Light is involved in, but and planning is involved in. We have, it is time that we update our plan because obviously everything has changed in that landscape in downtown. So that's something as a council we're taking up probably the next 30 days. I want to point out and appreciate all of our different city departments are here, our code enforcement department. Gentlemen, thank you all for coming. If there's anyone that has questions for our codes enforcement department, they do a great job. And again, Matt Rose, thank you from Lubbock Power and Light for coming. Our assistant city managers, thank you all for coming tonight. We appreciate your participation. This has been a great event. We always want citizen involvement. You can get a hold of us. We are accessible. And any of these departments that spoke tonight are accessible. If you have questions, we would love to help you. Thank you all very much for coming this evening. Anything else, Councilman?
No, I think that's a wrap. One interesting fact before we close. We have one question. Yes, ma'am.
I wish you would consider a library in South Lubbock. I'm sorry, but I couldn't resist that.
We're glad. Ms. Trost, thank you for bringing this up.
And it could be a library with a community center as well. Dual purpose building. And I'd really like it near my house, but that's not going to happen. But
I know where you live, and we can't. There's no property there unless Chief Ferguson wants to give an entire fire campus,
Yes.
and I don't think he'll do that.
Now, obviously, South Lubbock is where it needs to go.
Thank you for bringing that up, and actually that has been, Ms. Trost, discussed, and we will keep that in consideration. Thank you for bringing that up.
Just one point. Thanks to our PIO department for being here. They broadcast us on Facebook Live tonight, and we had 200 live viewers. So there were many more than just what you see here looking for information regarding the city of Lubbock. Again, thanks for everybody coming out. We committed to get you out by 7, but we're going to get you 6 more minutes of your life back. Everybody have a great and safe evening.